Please be seated. Well, this road to Emmaus story is quite often told as an example of spiritual revelation through teaching and discussion. Jesus explaining the scriptures to these men. Yes, it is that. But this teaching and explaining comes along with something more elemental that begins to happen. They sensed from physical sensations a profound truth, and an unlikely one at that Jesus did not die. He was resurrected. Now, please pause a moment and think about how your important decisions, choices, and beliefs are arrived at. They come as our mind and body are intertwined in a common experience. We put words to this like heartbroken, or when we say our hearts skipped a beat, or that we had a gut feeling about this. These men listen to their bodies. The entire story is steeped in the physical and sensory. The long walk, the burning of their hearts, and the touching and breaking of the bread. All of this was how they awakened to the truth that there is life after physical death. We must trust our senses as well as our mind. Right choices come from what we sense to be right as much as what we persuade our mind to think may be right. That is why when little children were torn away from their mothers at the border a few years ago, we knew right down to our very bones that this was not right, regardless of the letter of the law. And that is why I choose to believe that we can sense that to protect our children, there is a need to reasonably regulate firearms, regardless of the failure of our leaders to do so. We can sense what is right, can't we? It is a reflection of our complex human nature and an affirmation that God as Spirit dwells within us and is constantly pulling and tugging on us to sense and do what is right. Now, in a sense, what makes this story remarkable is how unremarkable it is. The resurrected Jesus appearing to the remaining 12 disciples, to the faithful women who followed him, and even to Paul on the road to Damascus is predictable. All very practical appearances in terms of establishing the church and its mission. But Cleopas and his companion, they are obscure, ordinary followers, not to be mentioned again in the Bible. Their road to Emmaus, marked as it was by uncertainty about what to make of Jesus, is an ordinary road. The type of road each of us is on every day in our journey toward gradually and faithfully cultivating an ever-closer relationship with God. Here, the day of his resurrection, Jesus once again turns away from the powerful, privileged, and connected, and instead of descending from the sky in wings to the sound of trumpets, he connects with ordinary people in an ordinary setting and in an ordinary activity. He takes a walk. How anticlimactic. And yet, how so like Jesus, right? Here he models for us a way, a method, a practice for ordinary beloved followers like you and me. He takes a walk. Because walking is a spiritual practice, a practice that yields so many dividends. Replenishment of the soul, connection with the natural world, problem solving, health and healing, and heightened attention. This foundational human movement provides a sort of highway to God by encouraging reflection. And if done with others, dialogue and conviviality. Richer conversations with soulmates, friends, and even strangers. Walking is deeply restorative. Now, throughout time, walking has played and continues to play an enormous role in the devotional life of people. A practice leading to prayers and songs, pilgrimage to sacred sites, walking the labyrinth, and a deep and felt sense while outdoors that there is indeed something bigger and better than ourselves. Walking the dog, walking around the block, just walking to a location out of doors. At the end of the day, these rituals of everyday spirituality are when and where our sense of God's presence within and around us is cultivated. So it was for these two friends who were walking away from Jerusalem and what they thought was a dead Jesus, and then found that he was alive and with them, as he is with us in a lasting, loving, mystical way. I also love this story because it tells us something about the nature of revelation, in contrast to immediate recognition. Revelation is an ongoing revealing. And since we never know God fully, we are always waking up to new manifestations and understandings of God. So it was for these two men. And since they were human beings just like us, they probably continued to experience periods of doubt and uncertainty over the years. Theologian Frederick Buechner once observed that faith is on again, off again, rather than once for all. That faith is not being sure where you're going, but going anyway. So it is with most of us. I believe this comes as a result of the way and pace, especially the pace, of God's agency or movement in this little part of his universe. Through us, he seems to do his work through slow, gentle drizzle rather than sudden, dramatic storms. Now, I like to think that I am an optimist at heart, something that is often difficult to sustain when I think about the world around me right now. Just like this music. I mean, where is that coming from? But I do sense that beneath the layers of violence, hatred, ignorance, and despair, I believe something holy lurks within, and that a slow, steady rain, even a gentle drizzle, is better for us than an 1.5-hour downpour. I choose to believe that in our sorrows, loss, anxieties, depressions, worries, and concerns, in each place we find ourselves, if we just keep walking, if we keep gathering at the table, if we keep listening for God, if we keep putting one foot in front of the other, if we keep treating the strangers among us as messengers from God, if we stay open to those moments when we feel strangely warmed, then God will continue to reveal himself to us just like he did on that road to Emmaus. Amen.